Woolery with Purdue Extension, and today we're going to talk about apple trees. Apple trees are another good thing to have in your home orchard. We've got lots of different varieties of apple trees out there. There's over 6,000 named varieties out there, and so the choices are endless. So one thing when you're thinking about picking out an apple tree to plant in your home, you might want to pick out something that's different than what you can find in the grocery store. We have wide varieties of apples you can get in the grocery store. So something that's not typically seen could be one you want to think about. Another one thing you want to think about when picking out apple trees is diseases. Apple trees tend to have lots of different diseases that affect them. So finding different varieties that have disease resistance is going to save you a lot of effort spraying and so on in your yard. The other one you want to look at, what I think is very important, is the rootstock. So with all these, apples are propagated by grafting. So all the gala apples, they're all genetically identical. So they'll take a cutting off of a branch like this, and they wrap it onto what we call the rootstock, so a root of a different apple tree. And then that grows out there, and so that's how you ensure you have the same variety of apples all the time. So with the different rootstocks, give the tree different characteristics. So with dwarfing rootstocks, those rootstocks are kind of weak, so they don't allow the top to grow very large. So these dwarf rootstocks might only get 8 or 10 feet tall. Whereas we're looking at a standard rootstock, those trees, the old apple trees, they get huge, 20, 30 foot tall. So it's harder for you as a home gardener to take care of a standard size apple tree. Whereas, you might have to use ladders to go and pick and prune and everything, taking care of that. And so if you can do everything on the ground, it makes it a lot easier. So there's dwarf rootstock and then semi-dwarf, which is a little larger. Those are the two you'd want to go with. Make things a lot easier. But a downside with these dwarfing rootstocks is that the roots are so weak that the trees will kind of tip over and the roots can't hold them up. So support is necessary at all times. So when you plant it, get a nice sturdy stake and have it tree secured there and to keep it steady. Another good thing about these dwarfing rootstocks is that they stimulate you'll have earlier fruit production compared to a standard rootstock. So this tree, I planted this 2 years ago, so this would be the third growing season, and I'm thinking we're going to have fruit this year on this one. It might take, if you have a standard rootstock, it might take several more years. With fruit production, it will only be on 2-year-old wood or older. So last year's growth won't form flower buds on it. You'll have to look further back. So a lot of times you'll have these short shoots here, which you'll have on this older wood. We can see some here, kind of call maybe some spurs. They're very short, and they'll produce these flowers that will have apples on them. So one of the more important things with fruit production on apple trees is light. So if we did not prune this tree and we just let it grow, it would have a rounded shape and have a dense crown. And the light interception, where would the light be? On the top. You wouldn't get light down here on these branches very much. So, and the light is what the tree uses for energy for making apples. So by thinning it, we're going to get more light into the canopy, throughout the canopy, and have more fruit production throughout the canopy. So certain way you want to do this. On apple trees, you want to prune to a central leader. So what that means is we have our main trunk coming up here, and we want to keep a kind of straight line. We've got kind of a double leader forming here, and so we want to take care of that. That's one of the things we want to take care of, and to ensure our good structure for years to come. and we're building our kind of what we call the scaffold branches going out, which will have our fruit production on them. So we want to have a central leader. We don't want to have a double top like that, and that'll have weak branches there and could break at some point. We don't want to have too crowded. We're getting a little too many branches here, so we're going to have to thin out some of those. We don't want branches that are growing straight up. They tend to have more leaves and not as much fruit production. Branches that are going more horizontal is where you're going to get a lot of your fruit production. So pruning out those branches growing straight up, or water sprouts, that's what you want to do. And also for maximizing the light interception and fruit production in your crown, you want to have your branches wider at your base and narrower, so more like a Christmas tree shape coming up.
To summarize, we want a tree with a wide bottom, narrow top, branches that are well spaced with good branch angles and tree support.
So like I said, we've got kind of a decision to make here. We've got kind of double leaders going on. I'll get to that in a minute. We're going to start in the bottom, and we're going to thin out some of these branches here. So this one might be a little low, and we've got it crowding out, so I'm going to remove this one. This one's growing up, so that's going to be in the way there as well. This one's probably a little too shaded out, crowded, and we're going to thin this one out as well. Another thing you want to do is some branches that are growing downward, they're going to be more shaded, take those out. On this young tree though, see this one's growing up like this. We can do two things. You can either get some wooding spacers to kind of bend that down, or some kind of weight. I've used some string over here to hold this one back. Or one thing I might do is, I think I'm just going, this branch is more horizontal here. So I'm going to take this one off like that. On this side, we've got kind of better spacing. So this one seems like the stronger branch, so I'm going to keep this one and prune that off. So some other things to do is to either kind of space these out some more, and we get some better branch spacing in here, and so have kind of this full ground, we get the good light interception and everything. And so hopefully we'll get some fruit production starting on this as their third season of growth here. So if you have any more questions about apple production or growing other fruit in your fruit garden, leave them in the comments section below. I think soon I'm gonna do a video about rescuing, what to do if you have a older, mature, standard size apple tree that hasn't been taken care of in years. So some kind of a pruning on one of those. How are you going to tackle that? All right, we'll see you later.